There's a silence most men over 50 never talk about. It's not the quiet of an empty house. It's the phone that doesn't ring. The son who used to call every Sunday. The daughter who stopped answering. You didn't get a goodbye, you got a slow fade. Until one day you realized the most important people in your life had quietly closed the door. If that's you, I want you to hear something first. You are not a bad father. You are a man carrying a specific kind of grief. The grief of someone who is still alive, but gone. There's no funeral for this, no casserole on the porch. No one says, "I'm sorry for your loss," because the world doesn't even count it as a loss. So you carry it alone. At the kitchen table, in the truck, at 3 a.m. And you start to wonder if you're the only one. You're not. Millions of fathers are sitting in this exact silence tonight. Now here's what I've learned. Estrangement almost never comes from one reason. It comes from three. The first two, most men can see. The third one, the one that actually decides whether your kids ever come back, almost no one will say to your face. We're going to get to all three, but you have to promise me you'll stay honest when we hit the last one. Reason one. The world your kids grew up in is not the world you grew up in. You were raised to provide, to protect, to keep your mouth shut and carry the weight. That was strength. That was love. The only way you knew how to show it. But your children didn't need your paycheck as much as they needed your presence. And by the time you understood that, they'd already written the story of who you were. That's not all your fault, but it is your responsibility now. There's a difference, and it matters. Reason two. Somebody got in the middle. A divorce, a new partner, an ex who needed you to be the villain so she could be the hero. Words get whispered to a child for years, small ones, repeated ones, until your kids inherited a version of you that you wouldn't even recognize. You've been defending yourself against a story you never got to read. That's a brutal place to stand. And most men respond to it the exact wrong way, which brings us to the part that actually matters. Reason three, the hard one. Somewhere in all that pain, you went quiet too. You told yourself, if they want me, they know where I am. Pride dressed up as patience, hurt disguised as principle. And while you waited for them to make the first move, they read your silence as proof that you never really cared. Here's the truth no one says to a grown man's face. Your kids are not waiting for the perfect apology. They're waiting to find out if you'll fight for them after everything, or if you'll let the silence win again. I've watched two kinds of men live through this. One stays frozen, bitter, rehearsing how he was wronged until the years close the door for good. The other does something most men over 50 are terrified to do. And it has nothing to do with money or gifts or grand gestures. Let me show you exactly what the second kind of man does differently. First, what he stops doing. He stops chasing. No floods of guilt-soaked texts, no showing up unannounced, no bribery wrapped as generosity. That just tells them you want relief, not relationship. He stops keeping score. The ledger of who hurt who first has never once brought a child home. And he stops waiting to feel ready. Because the man who waits to feel ready will be waiting at his own funeral. Here's what he does instead. He gets his own house in order first. Not to impress anyone, but because a son or daughter can feel the difference between a father who needs them to fix his loneliness and a father who has become a man worth coming back to. He gets sober if he needs to. He gets steady. He builds a life that has weight and calm in it again. Then he reaches out, short, clean, no pressure. I love you. I'm not here to argue. The door is open whenever you're ready, and it stays open. And then he lets it breathe. Because here's what I need you to understand at 50, 60, beyond. A closed door is not a locked door. People change, kids grow up, have their own children, and start to understand the weight you were carrying all those years. Your job is not to break the door down. Your job is to become the kind of man your children would be glad they came back to, and to still be standing there, steady, when they do. You did not get every year right, no father did. But the story is not over while you're still breathing. The next chapter isn't about being the perfect dad you weren't. It's about being the solid man you can still become. The reset doesn't have an age limit, neither does being someone's father. If this hits something in you, subscribe. This whole channel is built for men rebuilding the second half of their life on their own terms. And I made you something free, a one-page checklist called the Reconnection Reset. The exact first moves to reopen the door without begging, chasing, or losing your dignity. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. You're not finished, you're just getting to the part that counts.